What is up, fantasy footballers? Welcome to the Fantasy Planet, the Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Alec. Jack's here.
Howdy.
We got you when it comes to all things in the realm of fantasy football, helping you destroy your league mates, giving you that astronomical advantage as always, and of course securing that championship title. So today we got our sleepers for you. These guys are in the later rounds. You got to be drafting them if you want to win. But before we get into that, we have our recent news. Jack, what do we got first?
So first up, probably the most important thing, Zeke and Dalvin Cook both signed with teams in the past couple days here. Zeke signing with the Patriots, obviously, and Dalvin Cook signing with the Jets.
Yeah, with the Zeke thing, it was all Ramondre. We knew Patriots were going to sign someone, so we kind of had Ramondre already at that slight discount. But now, the addition of Zeke, he's expected to steal all the goal line work. He was a great goal line rusher last year, despite his efficiency numbers dropping off in terms of other rushing stats. I dropped Ramondre down to mid RB2. Of course, he had a great season last year with Damian Harris. He's still going to get all that receptions.
I think Zeke is probably going to be quite a bit like Damian Harris, probably with all the goal line work and just the short yardage stuff. But I think there's also still a little worry that he might, take a little more than that. Maybe he turns into the first down running back. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Zeke is probably.
I'm thinking slight bigger role than Damian Harris had. Of course, he's Zeke.
Yeah. I mean, even with Damian Harris playing last year, Ramondre was still great.
And obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you see the mic situation today. We had some difficulties with the cords and stuff, so that was a nice one out of us to take this mic because Jack insists it looks dumb.
Okay.
I think it sounds pretty good to me.
Whatever.
But Dalvin Cook to the Jets. The Breece Hall situation with his ACL, we think he's going to come back.
I thought they said
by week one.
Yeah,
I
they
would
said
say
he was going to be ready by week one. So.
But obviously, coming back from ACL, all running backs are slow. So that Dalvin Cook edition here, they did draft Abanikanda, whatever.
Yeah.
He looked really good in the preseason games.
I think kind of what I see most likely happening is Breece Hall, he probably won't come out right away of the season and to be taking more of the snaps. So it'll probably be closer split between those two. I bet probably as the season goes on, Breece will probably be taking more carries and be playing more snaps than Dalvin. Yeah, I just say worst case scenario that it's split between both of them.
Cook's known for missing games. I mean, you don't want to label one guy like injury prone. He's not injury prone, but he misses time.
Now he won't be like the workhorse like he was in Minnesota, which he'll be.
I'd say Cook, he was getting drafted around 100th overall as ADP. If anything, move him down only a few spots. Tampa Bay would have been a better spot for him to land fantasy terms. But Breece Hall, he moved down. I'd say even I have him 18, 17, below Ramondre barely.
I have him about 16, 16, 17.
It was hard to draft him with that concern. It's still, this
I mean,
doesn't make it any
even
better.
all offseason, we knew that there was a decent possibility that the Jets wanted to sign Cook throughout the whole thing. So that's kind of why we always say you should always draft as late as you can, and especially after the preseason games, just in case of injuries. But yeah, that's all I got about those two.
Yeah, well, preseason week 1 has passed. This episode will be dropping before week 2 has been played. Cooper Kupp, the hamstring injury. From the point of injury, which was probably a week ago at least now, they said 6 weeks recovery time. So he should be fine by week 1. But
it'll be close.
For me, it was him, Tyreek, Jamar Chase. They're all in that range where it's one tiny thing like this can be a difference maker and kind of tiebreaker. So bump them down to the bottom of that tier if you want.
These type of injuries are always kind of scary right before the season starts, like these hamstring injuries. But
yeah, we got a lot of preseason takeaways as well. Don't want to get into all of them.
Yeah.
But if you look at the snap counts with the first teamers, guys like Khalil Herbert, he had all the snaps with the first teamers, Luke Musgrave, tight end for the Packers, Dalton Kincaid, tight end. The Bills had all the snaps for the first team, while Dawson Knox only had 3 out of the 6. He had 6 of the 6. So there's a bunch of stuff like that, but we're going to talk about our Bears guy, Justin Fields.
Our man.
Our guy out here. He was 3 for 3, I want to say 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. Of course, they were screen passes.
Yeah, if you just look at the box score and see he was 3 for 3, 100 and whatever yards he had, you're like, wow, he must have had a great game. But he only threw for, didn't he only throw behind the line of scrimmage?
Stat. It was air yards -8 for him.
Exactly. So
that's kind of crazy.
It's kind of.
Don't read too much into that, but Bears offense is clicking. It's not against really the third teamers either. It was right away in the game. So, all right, moving on to our sleepers. Jack, what do you got first?
All right. So first up here, I have Elijah Moore. Obviously, new home at Cleveland. I just don't think there's any possible way it can go worse than what was happening at the Jets and him. So, yeah, definitely the best QB play now, even with, Watson didn't look great last year at the end of the year.
Yeah, but I think everybody's expecting that bounce back.
That should be better than Zach Wilson and probably Mike White, whatever he had in New York. But it looks like what we've been hearing so far that they're using more everywhere, even the backfield, all over the field, which is great. That's great.
Yeah, Donovan Peoples-Jones, you may say he's the second wide receiver, but he's mostly the deep threat field stretcher, kind of like that MVS role that Kansas City has. So Elijah Moore will be getting these short to intermediate targets.
Yeah, and I've been hearing from I'm just seeing a lot of hype from the coaches, praising him and say he's been looking very promising, and it looks like one of Watson's favorite targets as of now, which is great. And that's why I have him as a sleeper.
Yeah, he ended, I want to say it was 2020 with the Jets. It was either rookie year or second year. The last 5 weeks, he's
like wide receiver
5 in fantasy.
5. Yeah. I saw that.
It was 80 yards a game, 6 catches, and half a touchdown in that stretch.
You know what he can do with.
He's super talented. In that 2018 Ole Miss team, I know this was a while ago, in college, he was with A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf. He still had a very prominent role in that offense. We expect the Browns' offense to be better as a whole. Should be great with him.
Yep.
Especially at this ADP you're seeing. And I'm back. I had to get some water because Mountain Dew is bad for you. Sponsor us, Logan Paul.
And KSI.
I'm so dumb. Okay. I got James Conner. He's getting drafted. ADP right now is RB24, I want to say. I have him RB14, which is a lot higher than that. Most of the concern here is his age. People say he's injury prone. This is going to be a bad offense, people say at least, especially with Colt McCoy until Kyler Murray comes back. But he's the workhorse RB. He's all 3 downs. He gets a lot of catches. Towards the end of last year, that stretch, he had 85% of the snaps. So the injury concern wasn't really there. The negative game script, which is the concern with his team being bad, thinking they're not going to be able to run the ball because they have to throw, he catches those passes. People say Colt McCoy can be bad. In the games he had with Colt McCoy last year, 20.1 points per game. He was top 10 in points per game in the last 2 years. And a lot of aging running backs, the concern is they have slowly declining efficiencies. So people say they're going to drop off. Not the case with him. Top 10 points per game last 2 years. He's still super consistent, high-end option for you. He had 8 consecutive top 20 fantasy weeks last year. So that consistency, once again. People are saying Kyler will be back very soon. That's not going to hurt him. The offense will be much more productive as a whole, even if he's not going to get those drop-off passes.
Yeah. Basically the only red flag I have with him is offense is going to be terrible. He's going to have he's a workhorse, but he's still going to have not great, not a very high ceiling because the offense is going to be terrible. They're not going to be, in the red zone scoring a lot. I mean, he in recent years, he has shown that he can get touchdowns for sure, but I'm just really worried about where the offense is right now.
He had 1 year with Cardinals that bunch of touchdowns.
It was his first year there, I think.
Yeah, but now last year they weren't a great offense either. He still proved he can do that. Top 10 points per game, 8 consecutive top 20 weeks.
There's no other running backs on their depth chart either. It's basically him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like that pick.
And at this cost, RB25, can't find guys that are that level of consistency, that high production that's been proven. So, yeah. You got your next guy?
I have another running back here with David Montgomery. I kind of question why David Montgomery is going this late in the draft. What is he running back? He's late 20s.
He's in that same
he's
range
past
as Connor. Yeah.
But
just barely.
He's going in RB30 as sleeper, RB28 in ESPN leagues, which is really cheap. And the reason why I think he's in a better position this year than last year was because Bears last year, they ran the ball a lot, but they still were not a good offense. Now with the Lions this year, he's behind probably second or third best offensive line in the league. And we saw last year what Jamal Williams could do behind this line, getting all those touchdowns. And I think Dave Montgomery is way more talented than Jamal Williams is. So I just see him. I see him taking over the 260 carries Jamal had last year. I mean, if you give Dave Montgomery 260 carries, he's going to get, I think, a good amount of red zone work too. I just see he could easily finish top 20 RBs while he's getting drafted right now about RB 30.
Yeah, Jamal Williams, I think he led the league in touchdowns last year with 17. So they bring over Montgomery. Obviously, Jamal Williams isn't that talented of a guy. Right now, he's second or third on the New Orleans depth chart for running backs. Back in Green Bay, he was the second to Aaron Jones. And he wasn't – it's not like that was his rookie year or anything. I mean, he was a rookie there. Yeah. But he was still – it's that this Detroit Lions offense is the best offense for running backs in fantasy.
Yeah.
Most points last year.
And you be seeing all this, hype about Gibbs, but I think it's possible Montgomery and Gibbs can definitely both have a productive fantasy. They both can have a great season this year. But it's possible both of them can do great.
I see a situation kind of like Sean Payton when they had Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Kamara, very few touches in the running game at least, but he made up for that in receiving yards and touchdowns. I think that can be Gibbs' role, and then they still use Mark Ingram as that 1-2 down guy most of the time at least.
Yep.
That can be Montgomery this year, and he's getting drafted very late. He could easily finish top 10 based on volume alone. Dan Campbell came out and said you need that guy who can be the workhorse, 20 touches a game. He was talking about Montgomery there.
Yeah.
And then he's the special option, Gibbs.
And also,
Gibbs can line up the slot, too.
Also, David Montgomery, I thought he was, for some reason, I thought he was, 28 or 29. He's only, 25 or 26, which is usually that's, the last year or two of running back's prime. No red flags here. I mean, he's just a great pick.
Yep. Consistent RB2 production. Almost locked in there.
Go draft David Montgomery in your drafts.
I have Cole Kmet at tight end. Obviously, he started off the year bad. Last year, passing offense with Fields is bad. They picked up the pace a little bit. They still weren't a great offense, passing-wise especially. But in his last 9 games, he had 6 touchdowns, and he had 12.4 fantasy points per game, which was 4th among tight ends. He had over a 20% target share in that stretch. So, when they are throwing, even though it's not that much, they're getting him the ball. But now we expect Fields, this whole Bears offense as a whole, to be clicking a lot more efficient here. He's a full-time player. No tight end has played more snaps over the last 2 years, 94.5% of his team snaps. I think this team is just going to be much better. Kmet's the guy there, tight end.
Yeah, they obviously want to use him.
Yeah. I'd argue he's probably tied for the second receiving option on this Bears team.
My second wide receiver here is Nico Collins. So 21% target share in his 9 healthy games last year. That's not a bad number. His numbers have been increasing from his rookie to sophomore season, which is exactly what you want to see from a receiver heading into his 3rd year. So in his rookie year, 1.24 yards per route, as to his sophomore year, 1.68 yards per route. So obviously a little bit of an increase. And in Houston, Cook's gone, Chris Moore gone. Those are probably the first and third options that were on the team last year. And I just see Nico Collins is talented. Houston's going to be bad. They're going to be throwing the ball. CJ Stroud he didn't look great in the first preseason game, but the 20% target share that he had with Brandin Cooks and with Chris Moore should obviously take a step up now with them being gone. And hopefully you see that up to 25, maybe almost 30.
Yeah, I can't get on this. It's they got Tank Dell, who looked really good in the preseason game. They're getting him the ball well. They signed Robert Woods.
He's
John Mechie they're excited about him. He couldn't play last year. So there's too many options for this team. I think they'll spread the ball around, and even if they do lean on Nico Collins as their main target, they're still going to spread it out, and it's C.J. Stroud throwing the ball. So, it's not great quality of target, and they're not expected to be a good offense at all. So I got Quentin Johnston. I'm really excited about this guy. He's the first-round pick for the Chargers this year. Obviously, there are health concerns with Williams and Allen, that age concern with Keenan Allen. But I look at, they signed Herbert to this massive extension. They're going to throw the ball a lot. Kellen Moore is their new offensive coordinator. If you remember, he is the Cowboys' offensive coordinator over the last 4 years. He had the NFL best offense in 2021 with the Cowboys, led the league in total offense, which was 407 yards per game, and a scoring offense, 31 points per game. So they're going to put up big numbers with Moore. In 2019, Moore also had 431 total net yards, which was like the highest mark since Peyton Manning's Broncos like 10 years ago. So it'll definitely be able to support 3 fantasy viable wide receivers, even though Quentin Johnston at first look is the wide receiver 3 on this team. We're not expecting Allen and Williams to be able to play all these games, especially at 100%. In the preseason, they made it a point to get Quentin the ball. I know he didn't catch all the targets. It's because Herbert wasn't playing. They had some backup scrubs. He'll be all right. He's super talented. He's this big wide receiver. And if they have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams already, I don't know if you'd go out and draft this guy in the first round if you weren't really excited about him. But I think they're really committed to him.
I think the reason I'm kind of skeptical about this is, too, you kind of said that Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are kind of – you kind of sounded like you're basing it like based off them getting injured this season, like not playing. Like I don't like to look at it that way.
I know that would boost him up even more. Like right now, he's viable because Kellen Moore is his offense coordinator. They're going to be airing it out.
I see what you're saying with this. There's no bad pick later on in the draft. You can take a shot at him. I'm not sure he's going to take a step up until Allen or one of those two leave. But
I think even with them both, even worst case, they play all the games. He's the wide receiver 3. I think in fantasy,
I'm also
mid wide receiver 3 in fantasy is probably what you're expecting if those two are 100% all year, which is not happening. It's just not gonna
There's
happen.
also, a guy named Austin Eckler who likes to receive the ball a lot on the team, which would kind of take away from Johnston too, but a little bit nervous about he takes away a little bit from him. But yeah.
I mean, the Cowboys were able to support Tony Pollard in the pass game as a running back as well. Zeke too, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper when he was there. And Michael Gallup was like, I'm going to say Quentin Johnston is much more talented than Michael Gallup. The wide receiver 3 on Kellen Moore offense can be good. And I'm going to say Herbert is better than Dak Prescott too. I'm excited about the Chargers. I'm going to talk about Zach Charbonnet. I kind of mentioned it in the last episode with the Kenneth Walker bust pick. Charbonnet, they go get him in the second round. He's a great pass catcher. In college, he had a 14.5% target share. Walker is already dealing with these little injuries in camp. He hasn't, as of last week, he hadn't practiced yet. I think he just started. But last year, Walker had 1.8 receptions per game. Last year, there wasn't a significant running back behind him to challenge that, and he still only posted 1.8. So Charbonnet will easily be the third down back. I think he'll mix in first and second. And if Walker does get hurt, I'm going to say he's a fringe RB1. Obviously, we're not betting on that, but at this point in the draft, this premium handcuff, who is going to produce even when Walker is very healthy, this is a guy you should be going on your way to go pick. And also, he's not just a pass catcher. He had 7.0 yards per carry in college. That's a great mark.
I like Zach Charbonnet. I'm drafting him.
I also want to mention kind of the same type of situation here is Tank Bigsby, the Jaguars, the third-round pick, and Tajay Spears for the Titans. These are both guys stuck behind the RB1, but at that, they're getting drafted even later than Charbonnet because they're not expected to be a third-down back, even though I do expect Bigsby to be third-down back, at least fill in a little bit. Yeah. But at this point, these are premium handcuffs as well. Derrick Henry has those injury concerns. If he goes down, Tajay Spears looked very good in preseason. Tank Bigsby as well, if Etienne goes down. Bigsby will produce on his own if Etienne is healthy. Tajay Spears is a guy that's not going to produce when Derrick Henry's healthy. Especially if you do grab Etienne and Henry in your draft, grab these guys as a handcuff insurance back in the last round of your draft. It doesn't cost you anything.
No.
Even if you don't have them, pick them up.
I won't say these guys are going at the
Bigsby's like 135, so
he's a little
in a 10 team that's like around 14.
Yeah, but
so
I also heard they want. Was it Doug Peterson said that Travis Etienne, the goal for him is to be 1,600 yards. That's a lot.
Not happening.
He's a Travis Etienne hater.
Go check out the TikToks.
No, don't watch it.
Please watch them.
I just I drafted Tank Bigsby in Dynasty, so I don't want to like say I don't believe him at all, but he's like, I don't know. I just feel like ETN's too talented a running back for them to just totally not use him in the receiving game at all, which is what he was great at college. That's basically what he all did in college.
Like I talked about in the bus episode, and we put it in the TikTok, he had 2.1 catches per game last year with no one behind him. Like, they didn't want to give him the ball. He was bad when they did give him the ball as well. Stay tuned. Fair. Tomorrow we should be recording TikTok footage, hopefully getting that out for you guys soon. What's the next guy?
So next up here I have, this pick was pretty iffy for me. It might surprise most of you. It's Rashaad Penny on the Eagles. There is a lot of red flags here with Penny, but honestly, red flags really don't matter too much when you're drafting a guy like this late in the draft anyways.
He's not that late. It's 11th round for Penny, I'd say.
11th, 12th, but
it still matters.
I think you're drafting for upside here, which is what he has. 5 in his career. He's averaged 5.7 yards per carry. It's pretty good. Now he's behind the best offensive line in the league. I mean, yeah, there's DeAndre Swift. It sounds like they're using DeAndre Swift all over the field, like even in the wide receiver, like out there.
Slot.
Yeah, slot. But I think he can almost take over what Miles Sanders did last year. Get all those carries, not catch the ball at all. But Miles Sanders, you still a viable RB2 last year, kind of a flex between there. And I just see the ceiling for Penny is definitely higher than what he's getting drafted at right now.
He's a super talented guy. Like, back to the Seahawks, they were super excited. He just can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
I will have almost 0 shares of Rashaad Penny. They love Kenneth Gainwell. They signed DeAndre Swift. Preseason game, Kenneth Gainwell did not play. He's a lock. DeAndre Swift had 6 snaps with the starters pretty much. Rashaad Penny had like 30, which was competing with their 4th-string running back as well. And, Jalen Hurts is going to steal touchdowns, goal line work. Best case scenario for Penny, he doesn't catch passes, is like 50 yards a game rushing when he can stay healthy. They're using committee now. They got DeAndre Swift. They love Kenneth Gainwell. Nick Sirianni coming out saying that. They love him. I mean, I don't like the Swift pick either. Gainwell is the one out of the 3 that I've been picking just because his price is so much later. But if you're really
well, Swift is definitely the earliest pick out of all of them. But
if you're confident in Penny's ability, his talent, I'd say he's the most talented player out of all these 3. Not at this point, but like in his prime, he was at least.
I mean, there's gonna be a lot of red flags with him, but I kind of just looking for the ceiling at these guys that are going this late, and just like, that's a good high ceiling, and I'm like, okay, I'll take a shot at him.
Yeah. All right. I got a super late wide receiver pick here, Marvin Mims. He was Sean Payton's first ever pick with the Broncos, the 2nd rounder. He's debatably the greatest wide receiver in like Texas high school history. He was ridiculous out there. So they draft him. He expected to battle for that 3rd wide receiver slot. Tim Patrick got hurt, unfortunately, again. KJ Hamler got hurt. So he's pretty much locked in at this 3rd wide receiver slot. And a Broncos offense were expected to be much improved. His ADP right now is like 225-ish. So if you're in a deeper league, go out and get him with one of your later round picks. If you're in a shallower league, it's probably not one of the guys you want to be grabbing, but he's going around guys that don't have this upside. He's a big upside pick here. I just think he is talented. He has the opportunity to be a great option in this Broncos passing attack.
I mean, I'm not like a big Russell Wilson hater, but I don't know if I see the Broncos offense taking too much of a step up this year, even though they have a new head coach. He's going to be wide receiver 3 at best, maybe even wide receiver 4.
Yeah, I don't want to say you're relying on an injury, but at this late in the draft, obviously an injury is going to catapult him.
And if I see the Broncos passing attack, take a step up this year, it's going to have to be through Judy. I just don't see another guy in the offense really stepping up. I mean, Mims maybe can come in and.
I'm just relying on the talent in the last round of your draft.
Yeah, I see. My favorite late round tight end pick is Tyler Conklin. He's basically, there's like two guys, maybe three. No, two on the depth chart for New York, and it's Uzama. Uzama, he's on the.
Yeah.
Uzama's hurt right now, anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know how long, but it sounds like he'll be out. Obviously, like I said with Elijah, or not with Elijah Moore, with Elijah Moore, he had the bad QB play last year, and Aaron Rodgers now a quarterback for them, so massive upgrade. He averaged over 5 targets, almost 6 targets last year with bad QB play. So, I mean, they obviously want to use him a little bit. He's a great red zone threat. With A-Rod, I think he has Aaron Rodgers, he uses tight ends.
Yeah, if
He
you're
used
betting on his
Tanyan.
offense, this Jets offense,
Yeah.
he's a great pick.
And, you can kind of take him almost last round of your draft. He's kind of going
Around 18, I'd say. 20, yeah.
ESPN is ADP is 170.
Yeah, I mean, there's always tight ends in this range that blow up.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of the different guys, but Conklin for sure is a great opportunity to
Take a step up.
Yep. All right, last guy, Brandin Cooks on the Cowboys now. Expect to be the wide receiver 2. His lowest targets in a game last year was 5, and he played at least 10 of the games, so he never got below 5 targets. Obviously, he was on Houston, which is not an ideal offense for him. So, quality of these targets weren't great, but they're looking for him. He's getting open. You may think he's an older guy. He's younger than Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins. So he's still able to produce.
Yeah.
And like I said, in Houston with his horrible QB play, he was there for 3 years. 2 of the years he had 1,000 yards receiving. So he overcomes that, and now he gets Dak. A very good Cowboys offense. I think worst case he shares with Gallup, and he's kind of the 2A to Gallup's 2B, or roles flipped, whatever. But I think the most likely scenario with him is that he emerges as the clear wide receiver 2 in this offense, and he's a viable wide receiver 2 or 3 in fantasy.
Yep.
Obviously, CD's the alpha here, but I really like Brandin Cooks, ADP of 80 right now. So
Yeah. He's a good pick. I like him.
that is going to do it for our sleeper episode. Next week, we should be having a positional tier list ranking video. Not sure what's going to be yet, but we want to hear your takes too. Comment down below with your suggestions or your take on some of our takes. Join our Discord. We want to talk with you guys, especially with the season coming up. Also, we had an idea. It was suggested we maybe live stream before some of the Sunday games for an hour, half hour, just answering some of your guys' questions.
Start sits, stuff like that.
Injury reports. So if we get enough positive feedback on that idea, we'll do it. Otherwise, join all the socials. Links are in the bio. See you next week. Peace out.